Thanks, Tom and Linda. What a wonderful blend of East and West. It just, it's instant transportation to another realm. So the topic this morning is a world in turmoil. And I'm sure that no one needs to be convinced that that is the case. We have geopolitical upheaval all across the globe, financial instability, deep social unrest, environmental threats. What are we to do? How in the world can we exist in a world that seems to be driven by fear without falling into fear ourselves? The big question is this the end? Is this the beginning of the so-called end times? Or is there another possibility? Is this perhaps part of a larger process of redefinition? We humans have been here in one form or another for several 100,000 years. But really, that seems like a very long time. But really, we're just beginning to inch out of childhood into adolescence as a people. For instance, if we were to take the history of the earth and collapse it into one calendar year, such that 12:01 a.m. on the 1st of January was the beginning of the formation of the planet Earth, and December 31st at midnight is right now. We can place history on that timeline, beginning on New Year's Day and ending on New Year's Eve. By that scale, the first inkling of life, the appearance of bacteria, occurred somewhere in late February. The first physical life forms that would be recognizable, the very first fishes, didn't show up until November 20th. The dinosaurs arrived about December 10th, and they disappeared on December 25th. And in the afternoon of December 31st, the first recognizable human ancestors showed up. And about 11:45 p.m. on December 31st, Homo sapiens appeared, the form that most of us take. And all of recorded history, some last 10,000 years of human history, took place between 11:59 and midnight. So all of the span of hundreds of thousands of years on a planetary scale, on a cosmic scale, is but the twinkling of an eye. So truly we are very young in terms of geological age. So is it any wonder that we're behaving like badly behaved children? No, probably not. Probably not. And what really enables us to function in a world without fear, for us to function without fear in a world that's driven by fear, is we have to have a bigger picture. We have to understand what's actually going on. And in order to understand what's actually going on, we have to ask the existential questions. Who are we? What are we doing? Where are we? And why are we doing it? Those classic questions. So, let's start with the first one. Who are we? You have two choices. You can believe that you are a chemical organism that happened by chance. And many people believe that. Much of the medical community believes, and the scientific community believes, that it was a historical accident that we're even here at all. The other side of that coin is that you can believe that you are a spiritual being having a temporary human experience. And there is no right answer, it's just what you choose. And the answer that you choose determines how you see the world. You can see it as a world where the roll of the dice determined what happened, or you can see it in view of a larger picture, that there is in fact a purpose for what seems to be going on. And I suggest that there is a purpose for what seems to be going on, and that purpose is for us spiritual beings to have an experience, to have the actual experience of who we really are, and we get to choose who we become. And that's a very important choice, because we can know that we are the light. We can know that intellectually. But until we've had the experience of being the light and bringing light into darkness, we haven't done it. The analogy I like to use is chocolate ice cream. You can be the world's greatest expert on chocolate ice cream. You can have written wikis and encyclopedia verses and all kinds of documentary evidence that you know all there is to know about chocolate ice cream. But until you stick your tongue in it, you haven't experienced it. And that's the difference, because the difference is in experience. And experience only happens in a world of duality. Because literally, you can't experience what you are unless you're in the middle of what you are not. You simply can't experience it. You don't know hot unless you've been aware that cold is there. You can't experience. It's called the world of the relative, and the world of physicality is a relative world, and it's where experience takes place. And so what we're really, really, really up to is having the experience of being the light. To experience ourselves as spiritual beings, as expressions of divinity. And we can't do that unless darkness exists. So there must be a context, a soup, that out of which we can cook ourselves into a new vision, a new way of being. And what we are on the cusp of right this minute is a gigantic leap forward by humankind. We are on the cusp of a great awakening. And it's up to us, to be the leaders of that great awakening. Because it is the fact that nothing ever changes unless a small committed group begins the process of change. Margaret Mead, the great anthropologist, said, never doubt that a small committed group can change the world. Because indeed, that is the only way the world has ever changed. So what we are called to do in this moment, in this time of great turmoil, of great distress, is to see it for what it is. It is the contextual field, the soup, so to speak, out of which we will bubble up a new awakening, a new consciously evolved humanity. We jolly well better, because if we don't, the chances are great that we will cease to exist as a species. Because we certainly have the tools of destruction right in our hands. And we are simply not choosing to see it that way. We are choosing to see division. We are choosing to see that all those bad guys out in the world are wrong. But what we really, ideally would do is to see them for what they are. They are acting out of their own self-interest and loving themselves so much that they are doing what they think is appropriate to do. And I guarantee you, no one ever does anything that they don't see as in their best interest, in their solving their personal problems. So what does that suggest? It suggests that for us to be in the world without cowering in fear, without knowing that we're about to get bombed, we have to see it in a larger context for what it is. It simply is the process called life. Life is evolution. Evolution requires distress. Nothing evolves unless it needs to. And we can all agree that the world, humanity, needs to evolve. There is no question about that. Some weeks ago I was at the mosque on Plymouth Road for an open house. And there were hundreds and hundreds of people there, non-Muslims, supporting the Muslim community because of some language that's coming out of certain segments of the world. And one of the things that took place at this open house were brief messages from Rabbi Rob Doberson of the Temple Beth Israel and George Lambertis, the head of the Interfaith Roundtable, of support and unification of our oneness. And then the Imam from Farmington Hills came and spoke. And he said, I just have never seen such a wonderful outpouring of support. And the one person that I really feel compelled to thank is Donald Trump. And he meant it. He meant it. Because Donald Trump is giving us the major ingredient for the contextual soup that we need to bubble, that we need to see what's really afoot. Because if we choose tolerance for ourselves, if we choose to be loving in all cases, we can't do that unless there is a context of something other than that. Neil Walsh, in his work, quotes God as saying, in the absence of that which you are not, that which you are is not. What? Let me say that again. In the absence of what you are not, what you are is not. And that means that you cannot experience yourself as the light unless you're in the middle of darkness. Unless you can walk into a dark room and be the light. So that's what we're up to. It's calling us to be the light, to work for change, to invite others into a conversation about who we are, and what we're about, and how are we going to go accomplish that. Resist not. Do not oppose that which seems to oppose you. Do not oppose, compose. Compose yourself, compose a conversation about what seems to be going on, and reach some sort of understanding and resolution with those who are seeming to oppose you. It's time for humanity to stop allowing 600 plus children to die of starvation every hour of every day. Realize that's what's going on? And we're in the midst, we have enormous wealth. We just haven't committed to the process that's required to share the resources of the world. There's no limitation, there's no lack. There simply is a lack of will, a lack of willingness to share. We still believe in lack. We believe in limitation. We believe there isn't enough. We got to scrabble and get ours before somebody else gets it. That is the functional platform of many of the world's politicians. We got to get ours. You can't have ours. We want it. And if we truly understood who we are, we would be able to react differently. Every act that we take, every act that anyone takes, is an act of self-definition. And that's what's afoot. So how do we go from living in fear to living without fear? And it's very simple. It isn't easy, but it's very simple. And the way we get there is that we simply have the bigger picture in mind. We see the world as this giant, bubbling pot of soup out of which we can consciously create a new humanity. That's what's afoot. And so everything that happens to build that pot of soup. We can't do it until what we are not is in fact present. That's the point. So where do we go? We have to give thanks. We have to have gratitude for all the crap that seems to be raining down on us. Because it is the list of ingredients for the soup. We can't have soup without the stuff to make it. We can't have toil and turmoil without that stuff. So we have to say, thank you. Thank you, God, for the blessings that I am about to receive in dealing with this soup. Because it is the process of dropping judgment and taking on gratitude. When you drop judgment, you can take on gratitude. And that's the secret. And you can't do that if you think that the world is real and it's really bad. First of all, that's a judgment. It isn't good, it isn't bad. It is what you say it is. You have the authority to create for yourself that which you declare to be so. We sang it this morning in the first song. We make our own world. It can be a heaven or hell. We get to choose. So let us choose the energy of gratitude. Let us drop fear. Because truly, it doesn't matter This physical body is not who we are. We have it temporarily, we use it temporarily, but yet let's use it consciously. Let's use it constructively. Let's create a conscious evolution so that we might become even grander versions of ourselves than exist today. We're in choice. We have the opportunity to create a new humanity. That sounds like a grand statement, but it's true. We are on the cusp. The consciousness level of the planet has been increasing over the last few decades, and we are now literally able to see the dawn of a new day just beginning to break over the horizon. So we have the opportunity to be the presence of love, to be in a conversation about how to begin the process of changing the mindset of the world. And we have to do it, literally, one consciousness at a time. We will never stand up and announce to the United Nations that the Interfaith Center of Ann Arbor believes X. And that might not work so well. What will work is that one consciousness at a time, we begin the process of being the presence of love, of being grateful for the foul-smelling soup that seems to be swirling around us. Because that is indeed our ticket to conscious evolution. So I invite you, each of you, to make this year of 2016 a year of gratitude. Be grateful and drop all the judgments. Does that mean that you're supposed to be a doormat, that you're supposed to allow, oh, whatever, it's just happening. It is what it is. No, it doesn't mean that. You can work for change without being in opposition. And that's the key. Be in composition, not opposition. Work to understand. Ask the person, what hurts you so much that you believe that you have to hurt me in order to get what you need? Have these conversations. Try to understand. Walk a mile in someone else's shoes. Only then will you understand where they're coming from and be able to make a difference in the way the world works. So, here we are again. It's always up to you. You are the decider. You choose. You choose how you see. The only way that you can see this differently is to quite literally get out of your mind. Because your mind is filled with data from the past. And you're always checking out past experience and comparing what seems to be going on now. So quite literally, you got to be out of your mind and into your heart. Because your heart is where divinity lies. And your heart is where the birth of the new humanity will take place. So now it's open mic time.